The morning sunlight filtered through the tall, narrow windows of Elara Marino's atelier, painting streaks of umber across the polished wooden floors. The room smelled faintly of cedar, mothballs, and the subtle tang of metallic shears. Rolls of silk and velvet leaned against the walls, their colors muted in the early light. On the long oak table in the center, sketches were pinned with brass tacks, each one a whisper of a dream waiting to materialize. Elara ran her fingers across a freshly woven bolt of silver-threaded silk, feeling the tiny undulations of the weave. The fabric was impossibly delicate, yet resilient, a paradox that mirrored her own life. She paused, inhaled deeply, and let her eyes wander to the stacks of folded designs. The calm of the atelier was a fragile one, always poised on the edge of chaos. Today, she had a premonition that something was about to shatter that calm. Her intuition was rarely wrong. The shrill ring of her old office phone broke the silence. She picked it up, expecting one of the usual clients or fabric suppliers. Instead, the voice on the line was trembling, almost inaudible. "Ms. Marino? Please." "I don't know what to do," a young voice whispered. "Elara Marino speaking." "Who is this?" Her tone was calm, professional, but sharp enough to cut through panic. "My name is Lena. Lena Chavez. I need your help. It's urgent." The name struck a faint chord of recognition. Lena was a student at the city's prestigious Fashion Institute, one of the most talented in her cohort, but she was quiet, almost painfully modest. That she had called directly, and with such fear, immediately set Elara on high alert. "What happened, Lena?" There was a pause, a hitch in her breath, and then a rush of words. It's the Aurelia gown. The one from the Dubos collection. Someone stole part of it. I was supposed to deliver it, but it was damaged, and they want it restored. I can't do it. They'll ruin me if I refuse." Elara's pulse quickened, but her face remained composed. "Slow down. Who are they? Who damaged the gown?" Lena swallowed audibly. It's Celia Marino. She's my cousin, I think. She wants to claim the design as her own. I have the messages, all of them, instructions on what to do, but I can't. Please, you have to stop her before she destroys everything." Elara's fingers tightened around the phone. Celia. Her own niece. She had suspected ambition and envy in the girl, but never thought it would take such a dark, audacious turn. Her mind raced through years of family tension, the subtle grudges, the whispered comparisons, and now, this betrayal, direct and audacious. "Lena," she said slowly, "I need you to send me everything. Every message, every instruction. I need proof, every detail. I can't act without it." Yes, of course. "But, they'll know, they'll come for me." The tremor in Lena's voice betrayed a deeper terror. Elara's voice softened. "I won't let them hurt you. You did the right thing by coming to me. Send everything now. I will take it from there." By the time the email arrived, her computer screen was lit with the cold blue glow of digital proof. Every instruction was meticulously catalogued: when to pick up the gown, which seamstress to deceive, how to present the damage. It was a blueprint for theft, cloaked in innocence. Elara leaned back, eyes narrowing as she scanned the correspondence. Her mind pieced together the timeline and motives with precise clarity. Celia was ambitious, reckless, and desperate for recognition. And she had chosen the Aurelia gown, one of the rarest surviving pieces from Langston Dubos' lost collection, as her target. Elara's lips pressed into a thin line. The gown wasn't just silk and thread, it was history. Every stitch, every shadow seam, carried the legacy of a master who had poured his soul into creation. And now, some naive student, manipulated by a greedy relative, was poised to erase that legacy for fame and money. She could feel her pulse steady as strategy took over emotion. There were 100 ways this could have gone wrong: legal threats, public scandal, family disgrace, but she had one advantage: knowledge. Experience. The eye that had witnessed Langston Dubois' hand in every masterpiece he touched. The first step was simple: she had to ensure Lena's safety, then secure evidence that could not be ignored. The rest would follow like the methodical stitching of a complex gown, one thread at a time. Elara rose and walked to her shelf of preserved fabrics, touching each bolt as if drawing strength from its weight. Deep green silk, midnight blue velvet, ivory sateen, each piece a testament to patience, skill, and legacy. These were the weapons of her craft, and the tools by which she would defend not just a gown, but the honor of her mentor, the truth, and her own life's work. The phone buzzed again, a message from Lena confirming the email had been sent. Elara opened the first attachment, a photograph of the Aurelia gown, ripped and tattered at the hem. The silk shimmered even in its damaged state, reflecting a brilliance no camera could truly capture. Every fiber, every tear, whispered a story of care, artistry, and betrayal. Elara exhaled slowly. The game had begun. For hours, she organized the evidence, cross-referencing messages, photos, and design sketches. She plotted out every possible move Celia could make, predicting reactions and contingencies. Unlike the impulsive or greedy, Elara's mind operated like a loom, threads of logic intertwined into a pattern of strategy. Finally, she leaned back in her chair, the first glint of a plan forming. She wasn't just going to defend the gown, she was going to expose the deception, protect Lena, and ensure that anyone who dared manipulate history for their own gain would pay the price of truth. Outside, the city moved on, oblivious to the storm that was gathering in a quiet atelier filled with silk, shadows, and the cool, unyielding intellect of a master creator. And Elara Moreno, once a humble artisan, was ready to step into a game that would test her craft, her patience, and her very moral code. The atelier was quiet, but the calm was deliberate, a calculated silence. Elara Moreno moved through her workspace like a conductor guiding a symphony, each movement precise, each decision deliberate. She had reviewed every message, every photograph, every digital footprint left by Celia and the students she had manipulated. By noon, she was ready. A knock echoed through the studio, abrupt and demanding. Elara did not flinch. She had anticipated it. "Who is it?" Her voice was steady, controlled, but the tone carried an edge that immediately warned intruders. "It's me. I need to speak to you," a soft, familiar voice replied. It was Celia, the young woman who had been audacious enough to hatch a scheme to claim the Aurelia gown as her own. There was a faint tremor in her words, barely perceptible, but enough to suggest she was not as confident as she appeared. Elara opened the door. Celia stood there, perfectly poised, immaculate in appearance, designer heels, a sharp pencil skirt, hair pulled tight into a professional bun, but the posture did not conceal the tension coiled behind her eyes. "Elara," Celia said, voice smooth, too smooth. "We need to discuss the arrangement." "I believe we can." Elara raised a hand, halting her mid-sentence. "Step inside," she said softly. The atelier door closed with a definitive click behind her, sealing them in a room layered with history, fabric, and silent scrutiny. Celia's eyes scanned the room, noting every bolt of fabric, every pinned sketch. But her gaze lingered on one object in particular, a photograph of the Aurelia gown in its torn state, displayed on the corner of Elara's desk. You have it, Celia said, a flicker of disbelief crossing her features. Yes, Elara replied, voice calm, almost conversational. I have everything. Every instruction you gave Lena. Every message you sent. And every step you took to manipulate others into making this theft possible. Celia's perfect facade faltered, and she adjusted the hem of her skirt, a small, nervous gesture. You don't understand, it was supposed to be harmless. Just a restoration project, a way to get noticed, nothing more. Elara walked slowly toward the desk, fingertips grazing the edge of the oak surface. Harmless, she repeated, voice soft but cutting. You nearly destroyed an artifact. Not just silk and thread, but decades of art, of history, of genius. Langston Dubois created this gown with intent, with soul. And you decided that was less important than your ambition. Celia opened her mouth, but no words came. The atelier, filled with the quiet weight of silk, velvet, and old wood, seemed to close around her, compressing the air with unspoken judgment. I gave you a choice, Elara continued. I warned Lena. I protected her. And still, you chose deception. Now, you have to live with the consequences of that choice. Celia swallowed, a single, deliberate motion. She knew the conversation had shifted. This was no longer a discussion about negotiation or compromise. Elara's calm authority, her intimate knowledge of the gown and the history it carried, had created a battlefield Celia could not navigate. You'll expose me, Celia whispered. Her voice was quieter now, a blend of fear and disbelief. I already have, Elara said, gesturing to the computer on the desk. The email containing all the evidence had already been sent to the Dubois Foundation. Dr. Vance has the truth. Every manipulated message, every false instruction, every lie you orchestrated. You played with history, and now history is watching you. Celia's lips parted as though to protest, but a faint buzzing sound interrupted her. Elara's old phone lay on the desk, vibrating gently. She picked it up, scrolling through the new notifications, confirmations from the foundation that the evidence had been received, internal investigations launched, the auction of the Aurelia gown suspended pending review. Celia's breath quickened, a tiny crack forming in the veneer of control she had worn so carefully. This isn't fair, she said finally, voice trembling. I was only trying to advance, to create an opportunity. You're destroying me. Elara regarded her coolly. Fairness isn't my concern, she said simply. Integrity is. And you chose to disregard it. You wanted fame and recognition without earning it, without understanding the responsibility that comes with touching something precious. This is the cost of that choice. For the first time, Celia looked truly vulnerable. She glanced at the sketches on the wall, the bolts of fabric, the meticulous rows of thread organized by color and texture. Everything in the room spoke of discipline, patience, and mastery. And she realized that no amount of charm or deception could compete with years of dedication and skill. Elara took a step closer. You've learned something today, Celia. Perhaps the most important lesson of all, talent without honor is a dangerous thing, both to others and to yourself. Celia's shoulders slumped. She had no rebuttal, no plan, no argument. Elara's calm had stripped her of every defense. Now, Elara said, voice softening slightly, go. Leave this atelier. You have choices ahead of you, hopefully better ones. But remember this, you cannot erase what has already been done. You cannot undo the truths you tried to bury. Celia turned, hesitated, then left silently. The door closed behind her with a faint click. Elara exhaled and sunk into her chair. The confrontation was over, but the storm had only just begun. The gown remained at the center of a brewing scandal, and the intricate dance between ambition, art, and morality had entered its next phase. Yet for Elara, there was a quiet satisfaction. She had preserved not only the legacy of a master but the integrity of a student caught in a web of deceit. The atelier, bathed in soft afternoon light, seemed to breathe with her, alive with the anticipation of the next move. And Elara Moreno, creator, protector, and strategist, prepared for what was to come. The next morning, the city seemed to hum with a tension that mirrored Elara's own. She arrived at the atelier before sunrise, the quiet streets giving her studio a sense of isolation, a sanctuary amid the storm that was about to break. Her phone buzzed continuously with notifications, but she did not check them. First, she needed order, a plan. Elara spread out her notes, the photographs of the torn gown, the meticulously restored version, the messages from Celia and Lena, and the documentation proving Langston Dubois' silver thread signature, the master's invisible mark, known only to her and the late genius himself. She had foreseen the inevitable. Once the Dubois Foundation had reviewed the evidence, the public would follow. And follow they did. By mid-morning, the phone rang. A number she did not recognize. Elara Moreno? The voice on the line was crisp, professional. This is Dr. Elias Vance, head of the Langston Dubois Legacy Foundation. We have reviewed the materials you sent. Your documentation is complete and irrefutable. We will halt the auction immediately and are launching an internal investigation into the misconduct by Celia Dubois. The press has been informed to pause coverage until the matter is clarified. Elara exhaled. This was the first step. The foundation would act swiftly, and truth would have precedence over deceit. Within hours, the story exploded. Newspapers that had praised Zola and her daughter for philanthropy were now forced to publish starkly contrasting headlines. Attempted fraud threatens Dubois legacy. Foundation investigates Dubois restoration scam. Student and master's protege reveal deception. Elara read each article calmly, absorbing the praise, the horror, the shock, all while maintaining the quiet precision she had learned from decades of suing, restoring, and safeguarding masterpieces. The media attention brought visitors, reporters, and curious onlookers to the atelier, all demanding interviews. Elara allowed only one, a small, reputable fashion magazine. She spoke with the calm authority of someone telling the truth, never embellishing, never seeking drama. She spoke of the gown, of the shadow stitch, of Langston Dubois, and of the responsibility each hand carries when touching a work of art. Celia and Zola's counter-narratives crumbled almost immediately. Their lies, once carefully orchestrated, were now exposed through documentation, emails, texts, and photographs. The Foundation's swift, firm action left no room for misrepresentation. Yet Elara's gaze was not on the headlines. It was on the students, the apprentices, and especially Lena. The girl had played a role unwillingly, caught between fear and complicity. Elara made certain Lena understood one thing: courage mattered more than comfort. She had chosen rightly, and for that, she would not be condemned. By the second week, legal proceedings were underway. The Dubois Foundation filed a case for reputational damage and attempted fraud against Celia and Zola. High society whispered, journalists circled like vultures, and yet, through it all, Elara remained a calm island. The scandal was public, but her integrity remained unshaken. One afternoon, as she adjusted bowls of rare silk, her phone rang again. This time, it was a familiar number. Lena. Miss Marino, thank you, the young woman said, voice hesitant but sincere. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't stepped in. Elara smiled faintly, fingers stilling on the fabric. You made the choice you could. That's all anyone can ask. You preserved more than a gown, you preserved integrity. The city outside continued its chaos. Zola Dubois' name was plastered across news sites and gossip columns. Her meticulously curated social image had evaporated in hours. Celia, meanwhile, faced suspension from her studies and the possibility of further institutional penalties. Malachi, Elara's own son, was a ghost in the society pages, a cautionary tale of misplaced ambition and moral cowardice. But inside the atelier, Elara felt something else entirely, the quiet affirmation that she had honored her mentor, her craft, and the essence of creation itself. The winter bride gown remained untouched by scandal, saved from exploitation, and poised to enter the museum with a story authentic and true. Late in the evening, when the sun dipped low and shadows stretched across the studio, Elara pulled the gown from its secure storage. The soft ivory silk glimmered in the fading light, each stitch and fold a testament to artistry and history. She ran her fingers over the shadow stitch, tracing the path of the silver thread, feeling the pulse of Langston's genius that had survived the schemes and manipulations of the ambitious. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a message from the Dubois Foundation. The internal review confirms your account. The Winter Bride gown's restoration is officially recognized as authentic. We cannot thank you enough for your dedication. Elara put the phone down. There was no celebration, no fanfare. Just the quiet, enduring knowledge that she had done what was right. She walked to the window, looking out at the city. The scandal would fade, the headlines would settle, but the atelier remained, a sanctuary for truth, art, and the relentless pursuit of mastery. The confrontation, the exposure, the chaos, all of it had passed. And yet, Elara knew that history was not finished with her. There would always be challenges, always new tests of skill, morality, and resilience. But for now, she allowed herself a rare moment of calm. Tomorrow, she would return to the cutting table, to silk and scissors, to creation. And the atelier would hum with the energy of renewal, each thread a promise, each stitch a declaration that integrity, like art, endures beyond deceit and ambition. The morning sunlight spilled through the tall windows of the atelier, scattering golden shafts across bowls of fabric and the polished wooden floor. Elara stood in the middle of the room, breathing deeply, letting the cool air chase away the weight of the past weeks. The chaos of exposure had passed, leaving silence that was no longer oppressive but restorative. For years, this studio had been a place of quiet creation, a sanctuary where the whispers of silk and the hum of the sewing machine were more trusted than the voices of the world. But now, it felt reborn. The scandal had stripped away all pretense, the empty admiration, the false reverence, the opportunists who had circled like crows. What remained was pure, the atelier, the work, and the legacy of Langston Dubois. Elara moved through the studio, her fingers brushing over each fabric bolt, each pattern carefully stored in old cardboard folders. Every item told a story of dedication, of late nights and tireless hands, of patience and artistry. And in her heart, she felt the quiet satisfaction of someone who had preserved something irreplaceable. She approached the large cutting table where the winter bride gown had rested. Its ivory silk gleamed in the morning light, the shadow stitch and silver thread intact. She ran her hands over it, feeling the pulse of history, the essence of the master's genius, and the silent gratitude of every stitch she had mended with care. The phone buzzed softly. A message from Lena appeared. Ms. Marino, I just wanted to say thank you again. I I think I understand now. I want to learn. Could I, maybe visit the studio sometime? Elara smiled, setting down the gown. Lena had a spark of curiosity and courage, the same traits Elara had recognized long ago in herself. Yes, she thought. The atelier was no longer just a workspace, it was a school, a heaven for those willing to learn and honor the craft. By midday, Elara began a ritual she hadn't performed in years, cleaning and organizing the studio. Dusty shelves were wiped, old patterns sorted, and the air itself seemed to regain a vibrancy it had lost under years of neglect and secrecy. The wooden floor gleamed under her careful hands. She even found the old folder of her earliest designs, sketches drawn late at night by lamplight, dreams folded neatly into fragile paper. For a moment, she held them close, remembering a younger version of herself, hopeful, ambitious, unbroken by betrayal or compromise. The weeks passed, and the news surrounding the Dubose scandal faded, replaced by other headlines, other distractions. Yet in the art and fashion communities, Elara's name quietly grew in respect and admiration. The Dubose Foundation formally recognized her restoration work, including the shadow stitch and the silver thread signature, ensuring that her mentor's legacy and her own contribution would be remembered. But more than recognition, there was freedom. No longer under the shadow of deceit, Elara could work without compromise, teach without fear, and mentor those who sought not fame, but mastery. Lena soon became a frequent visitor, her excitement tempered by careful instruction, learning the precision and patience that Elara demanded of her own hands. One afternoon, as they worked side by side, Lena asked hesitantly, "Ms. Moreno, did you ever feel like giving up?" Elara paused, scissors in hand, looking at the soft ivory silk they were preparing for a new design. "Every day," she admitted softly. "Every day, the world tries to make you doubt your worth, your craft. But giving up is never an option. Not when the work matters more than the noise around it." They worked in silence after that, the hum of the sewing machine and the smooth glide of scissors over fabric filling the room. The atelier was alive again, not with scandal, or fear, or ambition, but with creation. Then, one evening, a package arrived. No return address, just the familiar bronze LD logo. Inside lay a plaque, simple, severe, yet impossibly heavy with significance. Engraved in deep letters were the words, "To Elara Moreno, for unsurpassed craftsmanship and dedication to preserving legacy." Elara ran her fingers over the inscription, the cool metal grounding her in a truth she had earned. There were no tears, no celebrations, just a profound quiet, the kind that comes when the weight of injustice has been lifted and a life reclaimed. The atelier had become more than a studio, it was a testament. Every thread, every stitch, every lesson passed on to the next generation would carry forward the integrity, the artistry, and the courage she had fought so fiercely to preserve. In the soft evening light, Elara unrolled a fresh bolt of ivory silk across the cutting table. Her working scissors rested beside it, heavy and familiar in her hand. For a moment, she closed her eyes and imagined the gown that would emerge, not for the world's applause, but for the silent, enduring joy of creation itself. And then, with a deliberate, decisive motion, she made the first cut. The silk parted cleanly, the sound crisp and final, echoing through the studio like a declaration. A new design, a new beginning, a new chapter. Elara stood back, letting the fabric settle on the table. The atelier was hers once again, ready to breathe, to create, and to teach. The story of deceit had ended, but the story of creation, of her craft, her students, and her legacy, was only just beginning. Months passed, and the atelier had settled into a rhythm that spoke of quiet triumph. Elara had transformed the space into a heaven for creation and mentorship. The windows, once dusty and lifeless, now framed sunlight that danced across pristine fabrics and polished floors. Every tool, every bolt of silk, every pattern bore witness to resilience and dedication. Lena had grown in skill and confidence. Her hands, once unsteady and unsure, now guided the needle with precision. She was learning more than technique, she was learning philosophy, the reverence for craft, the patience of creation, and the courage to honor truth. Watching her, Elara felt a warmth she hadn't known in years. The atelier was no longer just her sanctuary, it had become a bridge between generations, a place where knowledge and passion flowed freely. One crisp autumn morning, the postman brought a slender envelope. The seal bore the Langston Dubos Foundation's mark. Elara opened it carefully, revealing a letter and a set of photographs. The letter read, "Dear Elara, your work on the winter bride gown has not only preserved Langston Dubos' legacy but elevated it. We are honored to include your name in the upcoming retrospective exhibition. The foundation recognizes your skill, dedication, and unwavering integrity. We hope this acknowledgement inspires future generations of artisans as you continue to teach and create." Elara's hands trembled slightly as she held the letter. No fanfare, no headline, just the quiet dignity of recognition. It was affirmation not of victory over others, but of fidelity to the craft, of a life spent upholding truth in a world that often valued deceit. That evening, she invited Lena and a small circle of trusted students to the atelier. Together, they laid out new fabrics, sketches, and designs, discussing techniques, inspirations, and visions. The room hummed with energy, not the frantic, desperate energy of scandal, but the calm, sustained pulse of creation. As the day waned, Elara moved to her shelves and pulled down a small, worn folder, one of her earliest sketches from long ago. The paper had yellowed, the edges curling with age, but the design was as alive in her memory as the day it had been drawn. She spread it on the cutting table and placed beside it the bronze plaque from the foundation, its weight a tangible reminder of what perseverance and integrity could achieve. She thought of the choices she had made, refusing to lie, protecting the young student, confronting deceit without compromising her own values. The path had been difficult, lonely at times, but it had led her here, to a place where work, mentorship, and legacy intertwined seamlessly. A gentle knock on the door brought her back to the present. Malich's voice, timid and uncertain, floated through, "Mother. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I didn't realize." Elara didn't turn immediately. She let the words hang in the air. Forgiveness, she realized, was not about the past, it was about her peace in the present. When she did turn, she met her son's gaze with quiet resolve. "Actions have consequences, Malachi. But this atelier, this work, it doesn't belong to anyone but those willing to honor it." He nodded slowly, understanding that while forgiveness was possible, restoration of trust required effort beyond words. And perhaps that was the final lesson she could impart, not just to him, but to every student who walked into her studio: integrity is the truest form of mastery. Night fell, and the atelier grew still. Elara stood by the window, looking at the city bathed in amber light, the streets quiet, the air crisp. In her hands rested a new sketch, fresh and unmarked, a promise of designs yet to come. The first cut of silk awaited, and with it, the endless possibilities of creation. She raised her scissors, letting them hover over the smooth fabric. The moment was timeless. There were no enemies, no scandals, only her craft, and the blank canvas of tomorrow. The scissors descended. The silk parted cleanly, crisp and precise, the sound of new beginnings, of legacies preserved, and of courage rewarded. Elara smiled softly. The atelier was alive, her mentor's spirit honored, her students inspired, and her own future unbounded. The story of deceit had ended, but the story of creation, integrity, and legacy would continue for generations to come. And in that quiet, perfect moment, she understood the profound truth that had guided her life: to create is to endure, to preserve is to honor, and to choose integrity is the truest triumph of all.